Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Derek Coffey, and I'm the founder of FWP. And I want you to imagine this for just a second. It's a Monday morning. There's no alarm going on. There's no rush hour traffic that you're going to be fighting with. There's no boss that you're going to have to answer to. You're just sitting at your house, on your couch, you're enjoying your coffee. This is what retirement looks like. Now, imagine doing this 10 years sooner than what most people hope for. That is what being financially free at 55 is all about. Doesn't necessarily mean you retire altogether, but you have enough money set aside that you can call your own shots. You control your time. That is why I feel most people need to make a plan to be able to retire at 55. In this video, we're going to get into why you should make your plan to be financially free at 55. We're going to go over the risks that you need to prepare yourself for. And then at the very end, I'm going to explain to you why I think 55 is the sweet spot. Stay tuned. So why would you want to put yourself in a position to be financially free at 55? Outside of the standard answer of, hey, I get to retire sooner, I don't have to wait until I'm 62, 65, 67, even 70 years old, there are 5 main reasons why I feel you should plan to be financially free at age 55. The first 4 are pretty obvious. The last one, maybe not so much. The first reason I want you to be able to retire at 55 is because you have your health. In your 50s, generally speaking, you are going to be in much better health than if you're in your 60s. By having that health, you're able to do more things. Your body's going to say yes to you doing activities like playing with your grandchildren, going on vacations, traveling, doing whatever it is that you want to do. You are probably going to be more physically able in your 50s than you are if you waited any longer. The second thing is time. You have time to enjoy your retirement. If you're able to add 10 years to your non-working life, that gives you time to enjoy what you've worked so hard for. Number 3 is the freedom to pivot. Like I said earlier, you don't have to necessarily retire in the traditional sense. If you still enjoy your job, maybe you can move it down to a part-time position where you work 3 days a week instead of all 5. Maybe you leave that job completely and go do something you're more passionate about. Maybe you start your own business. But by being able to call it quits at 55, it gives you the option to pivot. Number 4 is your quality of life. Like we talked about with your health, you're going to be able to do more things. You're going to be able to enjoy your retirement and get the most out of it. It's pointless for you to work as long as you can just to retire and then sit at home because you can't physically go do anything. By putting yourself in a position to call it quits at 55, you can actually go do the things that you want to do. Now, the 5th and final reason, which, like I said, may not be as obvious, is that you may be forced into an early retirement. With the growth of AI and all of the things that technology is able to do, there are a lot of positions that are going to get eliminated. All companies focus on are profits now. They don't care about the people. So if they're able to replace you with a piece of technology, then they're probably going to do so. They're going to hand you your walking papers. If they can't replace you, the longer you're with the company, the more expensive you get. They're probably paying you a very nice salary for the position that you have. They could also go out and hire someone half your age and probably pay them half the salary. So by putting yourself in a position to be financially free at 55, you don't have to worry about a forced early retirement. You're not worried about the technology. You're not worried about those younger kids. If they give you your walking papers, hey, so be it, because money's no longer an option. You're only working because you want to, if you want to. If you're planning on retiring at 55, the full-on retirement, not continuing to part-time work, not going to another job that you're more passionate about, but just stop working, then there are risks that you need to prepare yourself for. Now, for those of you that plan on continuing working, maybe in a part-time capacity, or you move on to another position you're more passionate about, some of these things may not be a problem. But if you do plan to fully retire, then you need to take these 3 risks into consideration and at least have a plan. The first problem you're going to run into is your health insurance. While you're working, your employer most likely provides you with health insurance. Yes, they probably only pay half of the premium and you're on the hook for the other half, but if you decide to retire, now you have to fund it all. Now, you do have a couple of options available to you. You could go on COBRA, where you just continue the coverage that you currently have through your employer. The problem with that is you're now on the hook for the full expense of that insurance. So as opposed to maybe the $500 or $600 a month you're paying out of your paycheck, you're now paying $1,000 or even $1,200 for that same coverage because your employer doesn't have to cover it for you anymore. The second thing you could consider is maybe jumping onto your spouse's plan. If you're married and your spouse plans to continue working for the foreseeable future, then just jump on their plan, but keep in mind that the costs may go up. The last option, and it's probably the most popular option, especially for situations where everyone is retiring at 55, is using an Obamacare plan or a marketplace plan. Now, what you have to keep in mind about the marketplace is that's all based on your taxable income. So your withdrawals from your investment accounts, wherever that savings is, has to be strategic. That way your taxable income isn't too high, and then that makes your health insurance too high. Now, the reason that your health insurance is a huge risk when you retire at 55 is because you have a 10-year gap that you need to fill. You are not eligible for Medicare until age 65 unless you have an extenuating circumstance, but those are pretty rare. If you're a healthy individual, then you're probably going to be on either COBRA, your spouse's plan, or a marketplace plan to get the health insurance that you need. But you need to make sure that all of these things are set in place because, as we're well aware, the most expensive thing that you're going to experience in retirement is probably going to be your healthcare related costs. The second risk of retiring at 55 is longevity risk or inflation risk. We are all very well aware that everything is getting more expensive and it's not going to stop. Everything that you need to live is going to get more expensive as time goes on. And what we need to make sure of is that you're not going to outlive your savings. If you retire at 65, the average life expectancy is 80 years old, so we're really only planning for a 15-year retirement. If you're retiring at 55, we have to add 10 years to that. So what we want to make sure of is that your investments are structured in a way that you're going to continue receiving some level of growth. That way your income can keep up with inflation. One thing to keep in mind is that $1 in 2025 with 3% inflation over the next 24 years is going to be $2 in 2049. So the cost of everything right now, what you're planning to cover by retiring at 55, will be double that closer to the end of your retirement. So we want to make sure that this risk is taken care of. We want to make sure that your investments are structured in a way that you get the growth that you need. Speaking of your investments, that is the third risk that we want to consider. And more specifically, the risk that we're talking about is your sequence of return risk. Now, if you think back to the year 2000, when the market crashed because of the dot-com bubble, could you imagine retiring at the end of 1999 and just setting off into the sunset? Yeah, you probably weren't very happy in 2000, and then in 2001, and again in 2002, when the markets continually lost money. There really wasn't a place to hide. If you retire and your investments immediately begin losing money, you're going to feel a lot of stress. You're not going to have confidence in your retirement plan, and you're most likely going to end your early retirement and go back to work. What we want to make sure of is that if you do retire at 55, that we manage this sequence of return risk in some fashion. Now, the easiest way to go about buffering yourself from the sequence of return risk is to add a little bit more cash to your investment portfolio than what we normally would do for someone that's 65. For someone that's in their 60s, we could get away maybe with 1, 2, even 3 years of cash just to make sure we're buffering from this sequence of return risk. But when you're retiring earlier, we probably want to stretch that out a little bit more. You could go 5 years. If your investments allow, you might be able to even go 7 years. That way, at least it gets you to age 62 and you can turn on Social Security. But when it comes to your investments, especially when you're retiring at 55, you want to make sure that you have a buffer against this sequence of return risk. When you retire, you want to have confidence in your income plan. If you know that the next 5, 6, even 7 years of your income need is safe and in cash, then it's going to give you confidence if the markets go down. It's going to reduce the stress that you're going to feel about being retired. So make sure that when you do pull the plug at 55, that your investments are structured in a way that sequence of return risk is kind of a moot point. So why do I feel that 55 is this magic number? Well, the reason this is because if you lay your life out on a timeline, it's technically the midpoint of your adult life. If we assume that you are going to live until age 90, and I know some of you are like, hey man, the average life expectancy is 80. I get it. But with advancements in medical technology, maybe we can get more people to age 90. But if you plan on living until age 90, then 55 becomes the midpoint of your adult life. From birth to 18, your parents are the ones that are technically financially responsible for you. I know that's not the case for everyone, and I don't want to discount that. There's plenty of kids that have to grow up a lot faster than what they should have. But for the most part, your parents are the ones that are financially responsible for you from birth until age 18. When you turn 18, from then until 20, you're just trying to make enough money to enjoy life. You want to hang out with your friends, you want to socialize, maybe travel a little bit. So if you are working, the money that you're bringing in is most likely going directly back out of your bank account. So counting that as part of your adult life, I don't think is fair. Now, once you make it to 20, your adult life kind of begins. Maybe you're graduating college, you're finally getting that entry-level job that you've worked so hard for and spent a lot of money for. If you didn't go to college, maybe you're out of trade school and you're finally getting into something that you can see yourself staying in for a bit, but you're starting to earn real money, money that maybe doesn't give you enough to save, but it covers your basic living needs. You move on to 25, and then ideally you're in a career-oriented position, something you could really see yourself staying for an extended period of time. At 25, hopefully you're bringing in enough money that you can pay all of your bills, you upgrade that clunker you inherited, and hopefully you have enough left over each month that you can start putting towards your financial freedom. At age 30, maybe you're getting married. Maybe you're going to add a kid to the mix. Hopefully you found yourself a house that you could purchase. I know it's not easy, especially in today's times, but in an ideal world, by age 30 or a little after, you have that house. When you get into your 40s, you're really making money. Either you've job hopped your way to higher raises, which there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, or you stayed with the company that you've been with and they've just paid you well. They've taken care of you over time. So in your 40s, you're making good money. You're setting a lot of money aside for your retirement. You make it to 50 and now you're kind of peaking at what you're going to earn because we're planning to retire at 55 or at least be financially free at 55. From 50 to 55, that's the final stretch. Those are the last 5 years that you're socking away as much money as you possibly can. That way financial freedom is a possibility at 55. So from 20 until age 55, you've spent 35 years working or accumulating assets with the decisions that you make. If you've accumulated those assets properly, then when you hit 55, you can call it quits. Again, you don't have to retire completely, but you have enough money that you could if you wanted to. From 55 until 90, you have 35 years to spend all of that money that you've saved. Hopefully, you die with 1 penny left in your bank account, unless you want to leave something to your kids. But if you want to live over those 35 years, you have enough money saved from those first 35 years that you don't have to worry about running out of money. 55 is the midpoint of your adult life. If you only plan to live to 80, I guess 50 becomes the midpoint, but even retiring at 55, you have 25 years of retirement that you actually get to enjoy. Having the ability to retire at 55, whether you do or you don't, should become the new retirement goal. No, it's not going to be easy. I'm not discounting that at all. But if you're able to put yourself in a position where you can retire 7, 10, 12, even 15 years sooner than you originally planned, you're going to be very happy with your retirement. Being able to retire at 55 gives you the one thing that you can't buy more of, and that's time. You can't just add a couple of years to the end of your life. You have to enjoy more of it while you're still alive. Being able to retire at 55 allows you to enjoy more of that time while you're still physically able to enjoy that extra time. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. If this video or any of the other videos that I put out has provided you value, then hit the subscribe button. If you know someone that really wants to get moving on retiring at 55, then send this video to them. Maybe this will help motivate them to put a plan in place. The other thing that I ask you guys to do is stay tuned because I have a little series of videos about retiring at 55 that are going to be coming out. So stay tuned for that next one because it's going to tell you how much you need to have so you can call it quits at 55. But I thank you guys again for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.